Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am Kofi Outlaw. With me today are my co-hosts Matthew Aguilar and Janelle Wheeler. What's up, guys?
Hello,
What's up,
hello.
everybody?
And on this show today, the Acolyte is here. So are trailers for Alien Romulus and Venom: The Last Dance. New movies out are Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and The Watchers. Plus, at the end of the show, we are going to be running through some geek news as well. It's a full show. It's a good time. Everybody, welcome to Comic Book Nation. And let's get it going. So, uh, we usually do promos at the end, but we are Comic Book Nation and we do a bunch of bonus shows. So if you are just getting into this show because of the topics we're talking about today, make sure you subscribe because already we went deep into the Acolyte this week with our new after show, Acolyte Aftermath, where myself and a rotating series of guests from the comic book staff sit down and talk about each episode of the Acolyte. We also feature interviews with the cast and crew of the show. Plus, we get geeky on the Star Wars lore of it all. So all those Easter eggs and kind of deeper lore things you need to know, we get into as well. So join us for that every week. We will be dropping those immediately after new episodes of The Acolyte. But for the live show today, we've had a couple days to process. And in this case, I think that was important. And I haven't gotten to talk about my two best co-hosts about what they thought of The Acolyte. So, we've been doing this podcast and Star Wars TV has kind of really popped off since we've been doing this. And we've seen some highs, like when The Mandalorian started, and we've seen some lows, like when Book of Boba Fett got real bad. But, where do you guys kind of feel on the Acolyte? I have been saying stuff about this and writing about it all week, and my mouth is tired for once, if you can believe it. So, Matthew Aguilar, what are you feeling? Because you are always you're my 50-50 person on Star Wars. So, how did you feel about Acolyte?
I dug it. I think it was smart to do the double premiere, to really kind of get a sense of stuff and how the plot starts to move along. I dig the premise. Can we get in the spoilers? Spoilers, okay or no?
Yeah, it's been a couple days. Yeah, it's been a couple
Okay,
days.
cool. Okay, so there's the whole thing at the beginning kind of threw me because I was all like in. I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're gonna get this thing, and then having a character die that like I was excited to see as the show went on was a bummer to me. I was like, are you kidding? Like that sucks. That sucks. So like I was first a little like thrown off by that, but as we get into the story of Osha and May and all this kind of back and forth and the mystery of it all, and that stuff really hooked me. And so by the end of it, I'm in. I thought like it felt different. I tend to like the more I'm starting to discover this more and more as time goes on. I tend to be more of a smugglers, outlaws, outer rim type of person in the Star Wars world. Like that's the part of the world I tend to enjoy more, find more adventure in. I just tend to gravitate towards that more. And maybe it's just because we've seen so many Jedi stories. We've seen so many Force things that like I get kind of like, okay, like I've seen this. I just kind of want something a little different. And so for this though, I thought they did a really good job of like finding new things within to kind of mine and hook me. And so I dug this. I dug this a lot. I'm very like I'm not pleasantly surprised because like the trailers already looked dope. I was excited for this going in. But I was surprised that it like kind of maintained that bar for me and managed to hook me. Even though some of the Jedi stuff I'm kind of like I get a little tired of at times. So yeah, I dug it.
Okay, that's Matt. Now, Janelle Wheeler, what did you think?
So I actually loved this. And I only watched the one episode because I left it up to my husband to go. I was like, oh, can you cue it on? And he's like, sure. We played the first episode. It's like, is there another one? He goes, no. There's only one episode. So yeah. So I literally only
Lies.
watched.
Poor
I
Adam
know.
throwing him under the bus.
I literally texted him as Matt was talking, and I was like, "Dude, there was 2 episodes." But the one episode got me. I mean, it sucked me in, and I was so about it. I'm totally with you, Matt. Like, I was so excited. That's Trinity, right? From The Matrix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Carrie Ann
Moss.
Moss.
I was so excited to see her, and when she's not there anymore, oh man, I am really bummed about that because she is a presence. Like that casting was awesome. Like I loved her like vibe.
Well, before we go on, for everybody who's a fan, I don't know where I am right now because I've had a busy week and we've done a lot of Acolyte stuff. So I'm like weeks into this, but I can tell you for sure, if you pay attention to trailers, you can tell that there's a story that is going to, and just by the premise of the first episode alone, that there's going to have to be some backstory to this.
Right.
So there is going to be,
we'll get more of that.
You will get more possibly of these people. So like,
good to know. Because I loved her, and I just loved that fight choreography with the little knives. Like it was just really, cool. Really well done. Like everything, it was shot beautifully. I really thought we thought for sure it was a dream at first and that it didn't really happen. So we were both like, thank God that was just a dream. And then we obviously realized it wasn't just a dream. But yeah, there was nothing that rubbed me the wrong way. There was nothing that I couldn't follow, that I didn't understand. I feel like they're doing such a good job on Disney Plus of I hope satisfying our deep Star Wars fans. I hope they're doing a good job for you guys, because as a casual fan, I feel really good about almost every single thing that they've dropped. So I'm totally into it. Can't wait to see where the story goes. The cast, there is not one person that was on screen that I didn't like. I mean, I'm sold.
No, let's get into that. This is my next question. Who's everybody's favorite character? Are you part of the Soul Patrol? Are you part of the Yord Horde? Where do you fall on this whole thing?
Yord Horde?
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. All right. Oh, yes, right. Go on Twitter and type in Yord Horde and have fun. It's already a thing. Yeah.
Matt, who's your favorite?
I'm typing in Yord Horde.
I mean, I'm liking our lead heroine. I'm liking her a lot.
Let me say, because like I said, I've done the full spoilers episode thing, and I've done so much for this week. But going back, I was so pleasantly surprised because I try to avoid a lot of trailers and promos and all this these days. I just like to go in. And so I don't read interviews. I just try to go at this content for the sake of my sanity and my job as cold as I can, so I can just judge it as art. So I was pleasantly surprised, especially in the first episode, to find out that Amanda Stenberg was playing 2 characters and, this whole sister premise, because they kept that really well under wraps during the marketing. They never really told us that. And so throughout that first episode, you and your husband aren't crazy. I was actually wondering, and I love this about the first episode that it's unique to, but I was like, is this a werewolf situation? Does this girl I thought there could be some weird force twin, your twin is gone but some weird echo of them is in your head, and it's some weird werewolf type deal, or Jekyll and Hyde type deal. And I was like, oh, that'd be wild. And so I didn't know if that was going on. But I liked it when we found out, when we confirmed it's sisters and all that. But
also really creepy way to reveal their connection. As sisters. I love that. It's it's a little horror. I love that.
Oh no, yeah. And even in episode 2, there's when you meet more characters and stuff, there is this whole side of this real sinister side to certain people and things, and even the Jedi. And I wrote up some articles that I think are really interesting about this, specifically going back to this first episode. I love what they're doing here in this world building, because I've been the High Republic nerd. Everybody knows that. But this isn't part of that. This is separate from that. This is 100 years after that. And the only real connection we have is Yoda's obviously somewhere. probably not going to be here, but Vernestra Rwoh was a plucky young girl in the beginning of the High Republic. And now she's like, when she was 16, she's like the youngest Jedi Knight at 15. And now she's 116 in this show. So that's like the only connective thread. And I have theories about that, but we'll come to that later. And you can listen to the spoilers episodes and read our articles too. But this is completely new space we're playing in, essentially. And so even if you're a High Republic nerd, this is still a different portion of that era. And even if you're a biggest Star Wars nerd, this is still undefined space before the Skywalker saga. And I'm already kind of just digging the world building that we get and the kind of interesting sketches that we get of the galaxy. Like when it was like a big deal for me when I wrote this up, like right in the beginning when Indara sees May and they're fighting the first time, Indara's first move is to grab a communicator and say, I've got an unregistered Force user like out here, which is a big, like it's a little line of dialogue, but it's a big deal because in the High Republic, there were many Force religions, and like the Jedi were one of many Force religions in this. But like some of them began to splinter off and become terrorists. One of them became these Nihil pirates that they spent like this early portion fighting and going to war with. And so the fact that we're in this time period and they're like, basically the Jedi are like the cops and the mutant registration, people saying like, we've got to register anybody using the Force. We're keeping track of all these people. Like that's a huge detail because in how they just walk around and with impunity will start to just use mind tricks on people to extract information, to do whatever they're going to do. Like
crazy.
It's showing you that at this time when the Jedi are the most powerful, we're beginning to see the setup of this thematic thing that like, yeah, there may be a lot of hubris in having that much power. Like they're a little too brazen with how they're using the Force and how they're controlling who uses the Force and all of that. And so that's a very interesting thing because as Brywood, our excellent commenter, Brywood says, yeah, this is a way of, without being like, here's Darth Plagueis and Palpatine hanging out with their young. It's like you begin to see the thematic echoes, which Star Wars is all supposed to be rhyming poetry, these echoes of how the Jedi begin to cause their own collapse.
That's
while the
really
Force,
cool.
And, me and JK, assistant managing editor, JK's been doing a lot of Acolyte talk with me. We're talking about how if the pendulum's over here, when the Jedi have everything, then the natural way you have to start to balance that again is you have to swing it all the way back around to where these other darker people begin to get control. And this is like what you're seeing is the setup, is the kind of stack of the pendulum that way. Like, yeah, they got real comfortable using the Force and controlling all this. But as a wise man once said, life finds a way, Yeah, right. Yeah, there we go. Little Jeff Goldblum for you. But and then so like that's very interesting to me. And yeah, Chris Chipperson, that's the best synopsis I've heard from this show. Listener Chris Chipperson, this show is basically corrupt space cops covering up an arrest that went bad. That's the vibe I'm starting to feel about it. Yeah, it's like a True Detective type deal, and I'm digging that. So yeah, more importantly, and I'm echoing what so many other people have saying, I do like getting out of the trappings. I like Star Wars with echoes of things that I can recognize, I can pick up on as a longtime fan, and rewards me without having C-3PO have to show up in this and be like, hi, you know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to leave. I'm so happy we're playing in that Skywalker less space. And other commenters have pointed that out, that's what we loved about the first Mandalorian. It was the first Star Wars thing we got, that until Luke Skywalker came like crashing into it, like we were literally out. And then, the second season started having the Boba Fett's, the Lukes, and the Ahsoka's. Like we were in the space in the first season where it was just this undefined space of Star Wars where there was no Skywalkers, none of that. It was just Mando in this other world of, like Matt said, where Matt wants to go with the bounty hunters and the outlaws and all of that. So this is now doing that too, just in its own space with its own view of the Jedi. And as we know, more complicated notions of Force use and all that. And I'm digging it. It feels new, but familiar enough to me that I'm kind of into it. Anybody have any early theories on the Master? You want to get off your chest? You've only seen one episode, I don't know if you're ready. You're still a Padawan.
Yeah, that's okay with me. I just love it. I'm so happy that I'm into Star Wars content.
The Palpatine.
I don't want to spoil things for Janelle because she hasn't seen episode 2, but I got theories.
Here. Go.
I'm keeping my eye on Kamir. I think that dude's a little too shady, and Manny from The Good Place. He was a little too good about hustling his way through those Jedi when they caught him in the shop, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on," and then he's like dodging May's attacks at the end of that episode. He's like making poisons. He's mentally manipulating her. Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on.
I love how you did the dead-on impersonation there. when he was fighting. A little bit of that Good Place slips in, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to have a little Jason in there. Come on. So like, yeah, I'm digging it, and there's enough of a mystery here, but also good character stories. And like Chris Chipperson said, I get by the end of the second episode that that this is about, you know, all the little details. All these Jedi are not doing okay. You know, Cal Naka's off somewhere in the woods. Torben's just been meditating for 10 years. And Dara's drinking herself in a cantina with a bunch of beer, with a bunch of, you know, other, you know, barflies. And Saul is seemingly keeping it together, but obviously has unresolved deep issues that he has with holding on to things from the past. As Daphne Keene, one of my favorite characters, Jecki Lone, just because Jecki just has that, you know, her autism is perfect. Like she just comes and says like the perfect thing, like with no social kind of radar whatsoever. And it's amazing. I love her. So great characters, great this, and people are already to die for Pip the droid, and I would love Pip the droid. That's a useful droid. I need that pocket transforming droid. That's my kind of droid. All right, Janelle, get back in here. Janelle. Hey. All right. So, yeah, I mean, we're going to keep an eye on the Acolyte, and we'll definitely be talking about this from week to week. But, I mean, it's good. I can't believe we're all in here. I wonder what Connor would say if he was here. We have to get Connor on for some Acolyte talk and see what kind of take he has. I'm always interested. But, all right, you can go and watch Acolyte Aftermath, our Acolyte After Show. We have episodes 1 and 2 discussed in detail. And we hear from Amanda Stenberg, who plays Osha and May, about kind of teasing where this character goes, where this whole story goes, and, you know, the High Republic of it all. So check that out on our feed. All right, let's get into some other fun stuff that we're doing today. I'm up first with the trailer for Alien Romulus. So yeah, this has been such a crazy busy week that I actually was trying to do a bunch of news and I forgot we had like new trailers come out because they just like so much stuff happened this week. But Alien Romulus kind of debuted its long awaited trailer, and I don't think I had time to appreciate this enough before I threw it in a podcast, but I do dig this. And let me just say, I don't even want to watch the trailer too much because I already believe in Fede Alvarez. And Fede, I trust. Evil Dead remake. I can't believe I always forget the one with Steven, the dude from Avatar. Don't Breathe. Yeah,
it just flashed across the screen. I'm not even going to take credit for it.
I closed my eyes right then. I closed my eyes like an asshole. Closed my eyes right when it came up on the screen. That's typical. But yeah, you know, Fede has made it clear that he just wanted to make the perfect kind of synthesis between Alien 1 and Alien 2. So this is kind of what we're getting. I like that it's a younger cast and like these are kind of kids having to deal with this situation. I think it's a good thing. It makes it more perilous, obviously, and more horrifying when things happen. But yeah, Matt's flinching already over here. But this seems to have the kind of claustrophobic in a spaceship kind of something hiding, freaky kind of camera effects of the first movie, but also the kind of scale of aliens with a group of people versus a horde of aliens. And yeah, and there's even a little Alien 3 grit thrown into this. I'm going to be honest. I feel like because Alien 3, I mean, if that was on a penal colony and they had to kind of make do with whatever they could find to kind of survive. And this feels like a little bit of it. But yeah, and I like that if anybody, Fede Alvarez seems to get the Cronenberg-ness of Alien. I'm sorry we're doing this to you, Janelle. I'm so sorry. I keep realizing like we just keep throwing you things that are all like nightmare pregnancy things, and we're really not trying to do that to you. But
I'm watching it, my eyes are like bugging out of my head.
I saw you. Yeah, I mean, but that Fede Alvarez gets that the body horror is part of this in all of this, and we're gonna go
horror.
Yeah,
space thing. Like this is not timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly. This is not like space This is a horror film with aliens in it. It looks so scary. Even if I was not pregnant, like this scares the living crap out of me. Like this is just the trailer. It scares me so much.
Yeah, the imagery is great. I like the the shots and stuff, and like just the scenes of what's happening in the creative way. Yeah, the creative. That's what I love about this, though, is like Fede Alvarez knows the material and he knows the iconography and he knows how to make something new and stunning and horrifying with that. Like that little, like taking the little technology and putting it up to her ribs, the self X-ray machine, and seeing that thing crawling inside. Like already I'm like we're all going to be doing that. So yeah, I can't wait for this.
Alien. You would love this, Kobe. This is literally
I mean, I love this. I just had I had one of my best, one of my best friends in the world. Shout out to Sule. We were just talking on the side this week about weirdly how Alien 4, how much appreciation I have for Alien 4, Alien Resurrection, the one where like Sigourney Weaver's half alien and has Winona Ryder, like, and a little baby alien human guy gets sucked out of a window. Like, yeah. Oh man, I love Alien.
Oh my God, I can't believe I watched that.
Yeah, sorry, we won't play that again. But Alien Romulus.
It looks beautiful though. Also, like, let me just say, like, the space shots are stunning. Like, it looks so well done.
Oh yeah,
it's just scary as heck. If you like scary, and especially if you like space and aliens and stuff, dude, this is gonna be. I think it's gonna be spectacular.
Yeah, Fede Alvarez makes some of the best, most gorgeous movies I never want to look at again. Evil Dead. I cannot watch that Evil Dead remake again. It just makes me squirm so bad. By the end, I was just like, that was almost too much for me. Somebody pointed out that Kaylee Spaney, who is the star of this, the short-haired kind of Ellen Ripley, youngish looking person. Yeah, she is doing really well this year. She was in Priscilla, she got recognized for Priscilla, the Elvis kind of creepy Elvis movie about him meeting Priscilla. She played Priscilla, and she was in Civil War with Kirsten Dunst, where she played the young photographer that is tagging along with Kirsten Dunst. So she is, as somebody said, in her bag this year, and yeah, now she's in Alien Romulus. So she's taking over Hollywood right now. So good for her, and I have faith in her as well. So mark that down. We'll be checking that out end of summer. August, Alien Romulus. All right, second trailer. Let's get into some cinema talk. Venom. The Last Dance. So I joked on Twitter. I was like, it's official that Venom is cinema, but I wasn't really kidding. This looks like the biggest, bestest, most venomish movie yet. And I'm not hating it. I'm here for it. Like at this point, Venom just brings a stupid smile to my face because seeing Tom Hardy do this character is just a shtick that I don't think I'm ever gonna tire of. Like he to me is just Venom now. Like it is so good. His Eddie Brock Venom and their relationship is hilarious. And this just scene right here of them just trying to get in sync.
Such a good opening scene.
Yeah. But all of this, like they just know the beats of this character, what we expect from these movies, and this just looks like it's going to be a good outro for this, and I'm here for it. I'm not expecting too much. I just want to go have some stupid fun with Venom again. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to get as mad as some as you are over this. I think this series is one of the more fun things in this whole superhero movie existential crisis point we've been in. This is some of the most fun I still have. I wish Carnage was better, but that was pandemic stuff. We all know how that goes. But this looks like it's going to be fun. And they got serious supporting casts. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno Temple. Like these are good actors. Like we're going to be working with. So, it's going to be fun. And the sequences, it looks like we get some of the biggest sequences in Venom yet, and it's going to be fun. So. How about you guys? You don't have to be on. You guys don't have no obligation to be on my nonsense with this, but
I mean, you play David Bowie in the trailer, you got me. Like, I'm sold. Like, I have a giant poster of David Bowie like staring at me in my studio right now. So, yeah, I mean, they're playing Ground Control to Major Tom. I love it so much.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so good. Even if the film isn't good, the trailer, they've just done a heck of a job of showing us what they got in the trailer. So the trailer alone just very much excites me. Whoever obviously like put this together, that team crushed it, in my opinion. I've always had fun with the Venom movies, probably because I go and drink beer. I get like a really high alcohol like ABV.
Yeah, I was like, where are you going with this?
Yeah, and I know, like, I remember the last Venom I went, I saw in the theater with Comic Book, everybody from Comic Book, and I got like a 13% ABV IPA. I just got drunk and like enjoyed it so much. And I remember talking about it on the podcast, like, oh, dude, I had a blast watching Venom. So I'm with you, Kofi. I don't take it too seriously. Like, I think it looks really fun and cool, and obviously like the chemistry between Venom and Eddie, like it's just
so good.
It's fun, and I want a film like this. I need a superhero film like this. I mean, we're getting Deadpool, so that's obviously like one thing, but this just gives me something to look forward to, and I'm happy about it.
Matt,
can I just say I'm kind of bummed that it's the I can't believe I'm saying it. I'm kind of bummed that it's The Last Dance. I mean, that teases that like it's the final one.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I have a I'm with you guys. I don't go in expecting you know, Captain America Winter Soldier, right? I don't go in like I don't put these like lofty, super high expectations. But I don't want that to like take away from like what I really enjoy about it, because I like that they don't do that. Like it's I could just have a whole movie of Hardy and the symbiote talking and just going back and forth. Some of my favorite scenes in the franchise to this point are just the ones where they're being goofy around normal people. It's like the stuff in the store, right? With like the whole back and forth, and like this thing just captures that in the very first scene. I mean, you have all of the Venom just jumping in with his line too early, and like that had me laughing. I love that. And then he goes and like bites everyone's heads off, and that was like, oh, that's Venom. That's a very Venom thing to do. And then to cap it off with the horse, like we've seen those larger than life, like back in Old Man Logan, right, when there was a Venom T-Rex. You've seen that kind of stuff, and it always leaves an impact because it's always absurd in the best way. I just thought, like if I had to look at a negative or like a thing that like I wish, because some of that stuff's so fun, I kind of wish like like this part right here, like that, this creature and stuff looks like I don't know, like looks almost like too ordinary for Venom, and like the kind of creativity you can have in that space. He still looks cool, but like it's that. So like for me, it's like, okay, like I hope we get even, I hope that's the tame stuff, and we get even more, later
we're getting,
we see
what's his name? Stephen Graham's probably becoming his symbiote character, like
right. So like and we still have all that stuff that they touch on here that we haven't even seen, and then of course there's some really bonkers theories out there right now about where this can go and who it can bring in. So, but as just a trailer, man, this was fun. I laughed multiple times to this thing, and I'll have fun with it. I agree, though. Carnage was the low point, and I feel like this will probably be a good bounce back.
There was, the rave scene was in Carnage, but now we get a dance scene with Mrs. Chen in a glow up. I know, like that tells me this movie is unserious in the best way, and I'm for it. Like I just need to like have some really lighthearted fun and looks.
He's so happy enough. When that's such a great, he's so happy with arms out. It's so good. So fun.
Oh yeah. The Venom character they've created, just the Venom character they've created in this is great. It's some of the most fun I've ever had with Venom. So yeah, I'll be sad to see it go. But we're going to take a break and ruminate on all that. And when we come back, we're going to jump into reviews of Bad Boy 4, The Watchers, and talk about some geek news that dropped this week and talk about some X-Men. All right, stay tuned. We back. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation. If you missed our first half, we talked about Star Wars, The Acolyte, the trailer for Alien Romulus. And Matt, you okay?
Yeah, no, I thought that was funny.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were having a stroke or something. Oh, my little bounce
good.
up.
Boop. Yeah, a little bounce up was good.
Yeah. Don't ask how I made that space, but I did. All right, so second half is me up first. So I have been busy out at the movies in addition to also being busy on Star Wars, in addition to also being busy in life. So I went to see Bad Boys Ride or Die to start out the week. We had a special comic book screening here in Nashville. Shout out to everybody who came to that. Thank you for supporting that. And I gave this, I was between 3.5 and 4 stars for this, but I ended up on 4 because, look, sometimes I'm not biased like everybody else. Bad Boys holds a special place in my heart. It's one still to this day, one of the most fun movie experiences I've ever had, going out with my parents, my best friend, my brother, and seeing this in our neighborhood, the first one in theaters. I've rarely ever laughed so hard or been like so on the edge of my seat. This was Michael Bay. This was Michael Bay, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, all kind of coming into their superstardom. Then we all knew Bad Boys 2, and how big of a thing that was when that came out in the 2000s. And we all thought it was over after that. We thought Martin was done. We thought we had passed. And then we got Bad Boys for Life right before the pandemic. So that was kind of a weird drop because that was like one of the last civilization things we got to do before we entered this new timeline. But that movie was kind of, it was Adil and Bilal kind of finding their way. It was very much Bad Boys 1 again. Now, and I can say that in the context that overall, Bad Boys 4 is to Bad Boys 2 what Bad Boys 4 is to Bad Boys 3 what Bad Boys 2 is to Bad Boys 1. Like, it's bigger, it's more action. It's them, everybody really kind of in step and knowing the characters and being comfortable with it and having even more fun, absurd fun with it. And it's a great time. Like, I didn't know if they would be able to pull this off this late after this many years, but it's pretty good. And what makes this one better is, well, first of all, Adil and Bilal are much more comfortable and accomplished. They are on some Neville, Dean, and Taylor type ish. If you've seen that viral video of Will Smith with the harness on and doing the shots where he's flipping the camera between perspective, between his perspective and like around and what he's seeing, that sequence,
super cool
stuff like that.
Behind the scenes look at that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And he's doing real work it's part of the climax and it's awesome on screen. And so there are sequences like that. This movie has Mission Impossible level sequences in it. in the sky, on the sea, on the street, of course, in car chases and shootouts, and the action is really well done. But it's the comedy, the character story in this is much better than in 3. 3 was a lot about this meta thing about Martin coming back and where he's been and how he retired and he's trying to kind of get back into it. This is obviously has this little meta subtext to it about Will Smith and like what he's been through. And it's about Mike Lowrey getting older and starting to have like showing that vulnerability. He's not like he's having panic attacks. He's becoming a little bit, he's knowing his own mortality a little bit more. Whereas there's something that happens in the beginning where Martin has a near-death experience and he comes back and he's fully in his like guru phase. And so it brings back the dynamic of the first film, which I was having this deep conversation. I can't believe it's having this deep conversation about Bad Boys of all things, but about how the first film, you forget that part of what makes that work is the whole thing of Martin trying to pretend to be who Will Smith is. It's kind of a twins thing. Like Martin's a shorter, like angrier guy, and he's trying to pretend to be Mike Lowrey, who Téa Leoni, and they're doing that whole Freaky Friday thing. Well, this one does that in a different way. And this one, Martin's the more confident one because he's kind of on this thing like, I know I'm not going to die. I understand everything in the universe finally. And Will Smith is having panic attacks and freaking out every time they get in a shootout. And so it creates this dynamic between them that is one of the funniest things I have seen in between them in any one of these movies, where like Martin's constantly coming at Will with this kind of weird guru advice, and Will Smith's trying to still be like this machismo guy, but he's still getting older and stuff. And it's like, it's hilarious. And so it's like all about like what is emotional maturity as a man at this age. And Martin has all these things he's like ragging on him for. But the banter, the comedy, it's hilarious. The action's bigger than ever. And this is like Bad Boys Infinity War / Endgame. It's really kind of crazy how they go back and they pull events from all of the movies that came before to show you there was this overarching plan of people within department doing corrupt stuff, framing their captain who passed away. And it involves literally callbacks to almost every movie. We get supporting characters from some of those movies that come back and show up, and I won't spoil any of that stuff. And we revisit. And this has been such a long franchise that Adil and Bilal and the writers know this is a whole ass Bad Boys universe. And so there's actual like hilarious payoffs and developments from things that have been happening over the course of the series, like whether it's within Martin's family or like Will trying to like settle down, or their health concerns with Martin and like his eating habits and all that stuff. And like all of it comes back to Will's like trust fund and all the stuff he's done. I wasn't trying to spoil it, Brywood, but there is even fine. It's out there. I'll even say it this Friday. There's even justice for Reggie in this movie, and one of the greatest endings to a movie I've ever seen. I went with my dad and my brother, and we were on the floor laughing. The last scene of this movie is one of the funniest things I have seen in a long, long time, and it's the perfect ending shot. There's even, like I said, there's supporting characters and things you've seen across this whole series that pay off in crazy ways in this. And there's some John Wick style sequences. They bring back virtually at least somebody from each one of these installments, like Vanessa Hudgens and Alexander.
I saw her in the trailer, which is awesome.
Yeah, they come back. Paola Nuez is in this. And so there's an actual story and a conspiracy too. So this is pretty much one of my favorite Bad Boys ever, because I've been rewatching all of them. I feel like one the best, but I think I put this above 2. I'm going to be honest with you. I think
wow.
More than 2. I do.
2's my favorite.
2's a lot of people's favorite, but I like this better than 2. I think it's funnier, and I think the action's cool and great. And more measured. But you guys got to go see it. But Bad Boys are back, baby. Like, this franchise is not dead. I think I titled our review "Still Riding, Not Dying," and I stand by that.
Whoa! Now, okay, so here's one thing I will say: like, even the soundtracks have gone hard over the years, right? For Bad Boys. I don't love this first single. I did not dig the Will.i.am,
buddy. It's everything in this movie, because this movie is about a place, right? So it's also about Miami, and this is now about Miami, Gen Z Miami. Okay, like that's what we're dealing with now, and so it is hilarious.
So it's very fitting.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's
Okay.
it's what the kids are on. I don't understand it either, but like the music is now. It's the music of now. It's all these artists from now. There might be a Tyga in there or something, or Tyla or Tyga. I'm not sure. It's very still Miami. Yeah, go see it. Go see it on the big screen. I saw it on IMAX. Our comic book screening was in Screen X.
Oh yeah, you saw the fancy one with the
I didn't see
the
the,
three
no,
screens?
I didn't. I saw the IMAX on Monday. I didn't go to ours. Don't tell anybody.
Oh,
I had to do the review, and I didn't realize till the end that it was Screen X, and it was going to be my first time. I was like, oh, I've always wanted to see Screen X. But I didn't want to take my dad. I don't know how he'll react to that. So we went to IMAX.
That can be a lot. That can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So go see Bad Boys. All right, real quick on the horror front, I also went out and checked out The Watchers. They didn't have a screening here in Nashville, but that did not stop me from checking that out. And I'm trying to pull up some information about it.
I'm very curious about this film. Me and Anissa are very interested in this movie.
You know what? You guys are probably going to be the people who like this film. And this is a film by Ishana Night Shyamalan, who is the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. And ironically, a little girl I used to see with her dad in an Italian restaurant next to the video store I used to work at when I was a kid growing up, because he's from Philadelphia. And they would be sitting here watching him write scripts. So this is kind of bugged out. I know I'm old now that she's dropping her first movie. Yeah, I think you and Anissa will actually like this. So this is a story set in Ireland about a section of Irish forests where people keep disappearing, and Dakota Fanning's character ends up getting stuck there in this shed with this group of people, where every night these mysterious creatures show up outside the door through this, one wall that's a window / mirror on their side, window on the outside, so that they can be observed by these creatures. And so it's about starts off about whether this is a real thing, or not. And then of course it becomes something about a kind of horror, but why I think you guys will like it, it's horror folklore. So it's this, and we're obsessed with this in a lot of horror. There's a whole arguably subgenre of horror, which is going back to old folklores, which were horror stories in the beginning. If you've ever done your Russian folk tales or anything like that, these are scary stories at the beginning. So this is obviously Celtic Irish kind of folklore that this is drawing on. But it's about what these creatures are, what's going on. And of course, in this family, there's gotta be the Shyamalan twist, and there is a twist. So yeah, and I found it interesting. It was as a debut film, because I've seen some things I've seen In a Violent Nature. I did that last week, which is very indie horror. Obviously, since she's Shyamalan's daughter, she gets a little bit more of a production budget, but she's got a very capable hand. She's telling a very kind of well-structured story. And obviously, there's a lot about these characters and who they are, and Dakota Fanning's character has a whole tragic backstory about why she's even in this place in life that she's in. But yeah, it's a fairly good, I would give it a 2, I would say about 3 stars to 3.5 star movie as a horror movie. It's definitely not the worst horror movie I've seen this year. It's very interesting, but yeah, it's kind of funny when you find out what the actual, what's going on. It's an interesting take on some familiar folklore, and I thought it was good. I thought the twist was a little forced, and I was just kind of come on, if you're a Shyamalan, maybe just make your first movie not a twist movie, but I guess keep it on. Yeah, you gotta keep it on brand. But the twist wasn't that strong, and it was kind of the weakest section of the movie for me. I like the mystery kind of thriller part when they're in the cabin, and the psychological kind of part of that. Yeah, and it has my girl in it from Barbarian, one of the excellent Georgina Campbell, who was in Barbarians in it, Irish actor Oliver Finnegan, and I can't ever pronounce this lady's name, the older lady, Olwen Fiore as Matt. Yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff, but Dakota Fanning is really good, and it's been a while since I've seen her in a movie, but she does really well in this kind of playing this kind of rebellious character who's had this kind of tragic past. And this is our review. If anybody's asking, Reverend on Twitch, we are talking about The Watchers. It is released in theaters. It is the kind of smaller release this week, counter programming to Bad Boys 4. It's a kind of mystery horror thriller compared to the bombastic blow 'em up of Bad Boys. So those are our two movies. I recommend either one of them to see. I would say The Watchers would be my matinee. Bad Boys would be my main event night date movie. But like, yeah, I would check them both out. They were both pretty good this week. So don't let the box office continue to die, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I gotta say too, I'm also very intrigued by M. Night's new movie. His trailer,
Josh Hartnett.
Oh my God! Like
Josh Hartnett's back in his bag. Yo, between his Black Mirror episode, which is terrifying. If you haven't watched that, him and Aaron Paul did a Black Mirror episode together about. Did you guys see that? Oh, it's good. They're two astronauts up in space.
Dude, I love Black Mirror. No, I haven't seen it.
And they're two astronauts up in space, and they leave android bodies at home because they're on a long mission to interact with their wives and kids. But somebody kills Josh Hartnett's family and his android body because they're like anti-robot or anti-like surrogate. And so he has to start using Aaron Paul's body to maintain his sanity and hanging out with like Aaron Paul's family on Earth. And, you know, of course that goes well. Well, at first he's just trying to be on Earth and do stuff in time, but then he begins to like, you know, obviously begins to have complicated feelings for having his own human contact, being his, you know, his fellow astronaut's wife and kid. And I think Kate Mara's in it. It's really well done. It's a really great episode, and he's really good in it. But between that, Oppenheimer, and now this, yeah, Josh Hartnett's making a comeback. He's sneaking back up on us. I like it.
And it's a great premise too. Like it's, you know, and that's, I'm very excited for that. So yeah,
I think that movie's about you. Taking Ember to a concert. That's what I think that's about.
Oh my God. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Shout out to Damon Gray.
I'm up.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, Janelle's up. Sorry.
Janelle, yeah.
Whichever.
Janelle.
We can jump around, you know.
Well, so hey, let's keep it loose. This is just the informal part of the show. We're just getting into geek news, and we're going to talk a little bit about X-Men. So let's just run through the geek news real quick because none of it's that long. But
So, you know, for all of our Last of Us fans who really enjoyed season 1, season 2 is coming up, you know, steadily. Hopefully it's just going to keep on going forever because I love the show. But they did announce that the season 2 will have a couple less episodes than season 1. And when I first heard this, you know, I tend to overreact. I think, okay, oh my gosh, they are filming and they cut 2 episodes. They don't have content. No, none of that. They're just saying that the storyline that they are going to showcase requires less episodes, but that they think that they would love to be able to do a season 3 and a season 4 because that's going to be a little bit more of like meat and potatoes. If you don't know what that means, just more and more content, a bigger, deeper story for those. So I'm curious to see what season 2 is really going to be about. But they seem really excited about it. And they said, as long as we keep watching, they'll keep making the show. So I love hearing that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm actually not worried about this. I kind of trust them. Although I really, really like more episodes personally because it's like an experience.
Yeah.
I trust them, you know?
Yeah, normally, I mean, I looked at this and I was like, yeah, that's smart because this second season is the toughest. By far, they're going to be the toughest because this is a transitional season. What essentially they're going to have to do, they can't do what the games did. They can't have that big of a time jump, really. They're going to not set up some of the things that are set up. Like the game plunges you in and then you have series of flashbacks over the game that fill you in on like what we're not going to really be able to do that here. So they are literally going to have to show us, you know, the mechanics of Joel and Ellie just trying to get back and settle down, find a community, get into a community and do all that minutia with this weird thing hanging between them, this secret. And then by the end of this season, I think is going to be like the last few episodes will be us kicking. We also have other characters we got to meet and see and begin to know and see this larger story. And I think the end of this season will be right when that serious stuff in the second game starts to kick off. And so season 3 will be the larger season of game 2. And I imagine season 4 by that time will have the third game out, right? And we'll be kind of cooking on that. So yeah, I see the vision and I'm good with it. All right. Yeah, I don't think any of us are too perturbed. Matt, you want to do yours?
Yeah. Good. Well, let's say promising news for Gravity Falls fans. It looks like Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls, and Disney are, they've continued to work together since Gravity Falls closed down shop. But there is a recent interview with the executive vice president of television animation and Disney branded television, Meredith Roberts, who says that they are in discussions with Alex with possibly reviving the show. They've done some shorts and he's finishing up work on a book project with them. So the relationship is continued to, kind of still be there, but with the fervor that fans have been calling for this show to come back for a while now, it looks like the discussion's reaching the right tiers and people are starting to have conversations. So Gravity Falls is great. You could also, I feel like you could say this about, with Ember doing so much Disney Plus, I've been diving into a lot of other series that only got like 1-2 seasons, whatever. The like valley of projects that could have easily continued because they showed a lot of promise and they were actually really good by the end is massive. So like you could bring back, there's so many series you could do this with. So I'm like, I'm all for this because I think Gravity Falls is like, one of the top tier ones, but still like you look out and I'm like, yes, please do that there's 3 or 4 series easy that you could do that with and should. So yeah, good news, promising news, nothing concrete obviously, but the fact that they're even number one, open to the conversation and actually already having them is promising. That's very good news. And then the other thing real quick is, and I want to make sure I'm always double check, make sure I say this right. Suicide Squad Isekai. Am I saying that correctly?
Isekai? Yeah, Isekai.
Okay. The Suicide Squad, the very stylish
you can say anime. Yeah, you're good.
Now has a date. We have an official date. It is now. There's actually a couple dates going around, and there was kind of a post that was quickly deleted that may have given us insights into when it releases everywhere. But right now, July 5th is when it will be broadcasting in Japan. And then there was a post that has since been deleted that kind of indicated it will stream on Max on June 27th, but that has not been confirmed or out there as official. But in Japan, July 5th. So we know that one is locked in. And so the US Max release will probably be somewhere right around there. So that's great. That's right. Smack in the middle of summer. We're going to have DC content to talk about. And the trailers have looked really promising and fun. And Suicide Squad needs a win right now because the game ain't doing so great. So we could use a win for the group. It'd be good to get. So yeah, good news all around.
Yeah, and they talk bad about Marvel's Avengers, right? Suicide Squad. Woof.
I'm just saying, Avengers is gonna last longer than Suicide Squad will.
Yeah,
just calling that out there.
All those years, all those promos, man. But to answer a question and comments from Andrew over on YouTube, Batman Caped Crusader is scheduled to premiere on Thursday, August 1st. That is the new Batman animated series that is launching this year, and with Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka. And I believe a bunch of other people are in. J.J. Abrams involved, Matt Reeves involved. Yeah, that's the whole Matt Reeves-y kind of Batman animated series we're going to get. So that is going to be on August 1st. All right. Moving right along. So Oh, back up to me. So real quick, just before we get into our X-Men talk, it was announced that Godzilla Kong, the third movie in the Godzilla Kong series. We learned that Adam, we didn't report this, but it was announced that Adam Wingard, who did Godzilla versus Kong and Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, isn't going to be doing the third movie. And will be replaced. He's going to be replaced by a new director who is Grant Spatore, who directed the movie I Am Mother. And Spatore will be taking on the new MonsterVerse film. We don't have any details about that yet. We don't know what it's going to be called, what the premise will be, or any of that. We just know that Godzilla X Kong has done well at the box office. It's made over $500 million. And it had like a pretty good budget and is still making a profit. And so, yeah, we're going to be getting another one of these, and this guy is going to be taking over the director chair. And I mean, I don't have like too many strong feelings about this, but I will say that I was really pleased with Adam Wingard. I was even pleased with his Death Note movie that he did before he jumped to Godzilla Kong. And I actually dug kind of what he did for that MonsterVerse stuff as just dumb fun. So, yeah, I hope it continues to be good. But, we can get a new take on all this. Well, I mean, anybody have any strong feelings about this in any kind of way? No. No.
Not, nah.
They are both nodding to indicate no to the listening audience. All right. We're going to move on. You can check out Godzilla Kong movies if you want on streaming. Matt, let's talk about X-Men. So we got X-Men 35 this week, Legacy, Uncanny X-Men 700. I wrote up a whole thing about the end of the Krakoa era. Might have been a week early, but he did X-Men 35 but I argue that X-Men 35 is really just a very long epilogue to the whole Krakoa era. It's basically Marvel saying somebody was at the end of the party was like, wait, what's still on the table here? Like, what did we not eat? And it's like, oh, this, and this. We should probably address that. And so they like literally go through a checklist of things they clean up. And we get a kind of interesting way to kind of montage preview the From the Ashes. Bless you, Janelle. From the Ashes reboot that's coming our way and give us a sense. All in all, it was a giant issue. It was dense. Like I literally finally got this worked out and read it all again and just made sure I understood it this morning. And I started reading it on Wednesday. And it took so long to get through because there's so much conversation, development, detail. There's a lot packed into it. I didn't even remember, like, by the end, the first pages, which is pretty intense, of Wolverine going in to kill Professor X and then being like, get out of here. I'm going to talk to my boy. And then they have this crazy conversation. So there's a lot that happens here. I thought it was heavy-handed, but, I thought it was heavy-handed in taking on some of the bigger issues of the Krakoa era and what it meant to these mutants who have been out in the world and hated in fear to have this nation together, reconciling with Xavier and Magneto, like that they sucked as leaders, even when they did this thing and like made this thing. Xavier being petty. I love Charles Xavier. I love petty Xavier. Being like, Xavier was right. The same week I got a Kofi is right. Shout out to Elliot Comic Art. I got Xavier was right because Magneto admits, like, we tried this thing. Like, I always tried to build this separate thing and say mutants are superior. We should be off. And it sucked. Kind of failed. And he's like, I'm not hiding. I'm just going to try to put us in the world and have us be standing in the world. And he's like, see, I told you. And yeah, the big thing that people are talking about, of course, was Apocalypse showing back up and being like going classic Apocalypse on everybody and reminding us that why he is one of the scarier villains out there as he's thrashing everybody. Shout out to Nightcrawler for being a badass baller. And for an X-Men book, making a balls and eyeballs joke at one point, because that made me put down the comic. I had to get up and walk away and be like, come on, cat. Come on, cat. When he's like, you got cojones. He's like, no, they're eyes. And I was like, oh, come on, guys.
Oh, yeah.
That was nasty. But I really dug all the artists from the Krakoa era, like, showing up to do pages. it reminded me, it actually instilled a lot of love for the whole thing. Because I was like, oh, I remember reading New Mutants and seeing this artwork, or like Pepe and all the epic stuff he did over this run, or this artist and this artist. So like getting that artwork back in there and some old favorites too, like that's how you do a giant issue. But it was interesting, and they did exactly what you and I said they would do. They literally picked and chose what they wanted from Krakoa. Then they took the whole thing and we're like, we're going to be out here in outside time and space in mutant heaven. And if you want to visit, you're more than welcome, but you don't. Distance Nerding Podcast.
Wow.
All right. Got him. So yeah, and they literally take Krakoa itself and a bunch of mutants, put it off to the side, and they're like, if you want to visit, sure, but you don't have to. We'll be all right. But they have built their own kind of mutant heaven out there, and they're like, yeah, it is a total Gen Z thing too, because it's just like, oh, we outgrew you boomers, and Apocalypse is like, no. And
so
like, by the end, he's so sad at the end, though. He's like a sad old man. He goes back to Arakko and he's like, they don't need me anymore. And you're like, oh, relax, boomer.
There's so much in this. Like, I had to, so I went back and reread it, right?
You got to.
Because it was just like, my God. Oh, okay. So actually, before I jump into mine, because there's a lot to do here, this was also, Janelle, did you have a chance to read it?
I got about halfway through, and I said, "Alkaline, should I watch some Star Wars maybe?" Because
it keeps going. Yeah, it keeps going. I
couldn't make sense of everything. Truly, like it was just so much. And I literally felt like an outsider. Like I don't belong here. While I was
Which is nuts, because you've been reading,
I know,
like along, and you've been reading with the whole thing. It's just like,
yeah.
Well,
but I got to like page 60, and there was only 90, I think 98 or something. I mean, I was.
Oh my God, it's
so. Is that how long it was?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't. I
89 pages.
89.
I was too. Yeah. Oh my God, I was too scared to look, and I would have never finished if I did. That gives me a panic attack after the fact, and I read that twice. Oh my God, but it just kept going. I was
twice.
I had, bro. I'm so tired. I'm done after this show this week. I am so worn out. Like I have literally every night I've had to stay up after. Like I put everybody to bed and just be upstairs, either watching things, writing recaps, reading like this, and I'm still working on an article. I think I'm at like 1,000 words just trying to sum all this up in an article. It's crazy, but it's a lot. Yeah.
But I will say, it's just a lot. And I was on the pull list this week. So I got to read some comics I love and I really enjoyed. So it was tedious for me, for sure.
Adio, how my day is going is we woke up and it was DEF CON 7 because we woke up and I saw my wife in the kitchen at 5:30 and she said, I have to tell you something. And I said, what? And she said, we have no coffee and our day has only gone downhill from here. We were out of coffee and nobody got any new coffee. So there has been no coffee for Kofi. And without Kofi's coffee, it's catastrophe.
I actually kind of love you not on coffee.
Yeah, that's hard, man. I've had those mornings. And man, they suck.
Yeah, there's been several meltdowns. There's been several meltdowns in our house already, and one of our children has already been returned home from school and is yeah, we're not doing good today. We're down bad, but I come here and podcast and do some happy stuff for an hour. That's this hour.
Kofi's ready to get back in the studio, is what he's saying.
Not today, because Nashville CMA Fest. Not trying to.
Yeah, let's stay away from downtown.
No, we stay away from downtown Nashville. We're staying away. No,
just cut a whole part of the city off to stay in that. But I think it's so funny though, because like Janelle nailed that, right? Because I got when I first read it. I got about halfway through and I paused. I went and actually read other stuff. I was like, okay, this is a lot, man. I'm gonna take a chill pill, process what I already have, and go read some other stuff. And I came back to it. And then the second time, I kind of read through, but like skipped some of the parts that I knew weren't, extremely like relevant to my interest. Here's the thing, and I saw it earlier in the comments, and I think it was where I'm trying to find it now, but there was one part where it was like kind of like I wish the fall had been better because I wish it had felt earned, and I can't seem to find the comment, but that's kind of how I feel. Like, number one, this is too long. Okay, I'm sorry. This is too long. There's too many stories here. There is so much. This is like a download dump. It's just like, hey, I mean, literally, it is like, let's catch all the things that we wanted to touch on and we want to keep, and we need to do a small story based on that so that we can like, oh, hey, we're keeping it. So like canonically, it makes sense, right, and all that. And it feels that way. There are awesome parts. And those parts are the ones that are like kind of allowed to breathe and really be their own story. I dug the Eric Charles stuff is great because, again, that's what part of what this whole thing was built off of. So like, it makes sense. Actually, the opening is pretty good. Like Wolverine going after Xavier makes total sense. It's an awesome action scene, but it makes sense too. And I even love Logan's like, oh crap. Like when he gets flung, he gets flung away. There's some great moments in that. Yeah. And then we start moving into the, staccato, like, okay, we got to get this in. All right, here's another thing. All right, here's the thing. Once we start doing that, and then also the part where, so there's a really, for me, the two issues that have closed this out have had very strong endings. I say that in here, I mean the original ending, not the 2 or 3, 4 kind of mini epilogues that happen after, but the original ending here where we actually see the vision of Krakoa. The artwork is like stunning, and them getting emotional makes sense as they watch on, and they're like, that's what we wanted. That's what we were trying to build, and look, it got there. It got there without us, which is hilarious. It got there after what, 15 years? Like they've been that way 15 years or something. So it got there without us and without all our meddling, but those ideas were sound. Like it was very much a proof of concept. And you're seeing something that like, oh my God, we actually did it. And then you're watching it go away because the only way it can survive is if it goes away and you're not involved with it. And like, that was a genuine scene. I thought that was a perfect way to end that. And then we keep going and it just starts to dilute that result.
Let's talk about that. Because this is one of those things like, you see the movie and you're like, okay, that's the end of the movie. And then it keeps going on another thing. We had, they almost lost me. I had to go back in and force myself because I forgot about it for a day. Why I only finished this morning was because I forgot that when I saw we were going to do a Charles Xavier psychic walk into another entire Charles Xavier psychic walk, I was like, nope, shut it. And was like, I'm gone. And then I came back today and was like, oh, I should probably finish that. And like went in and read the rest of it. And I was like, okay, so it's the same thing again with more detail about what's in the new books. All right. One was like Charles getting a summation of where things landed as the old status quo ended. And then there's Charles taking another walk to see where things are with the new status quo. But that was just too much. You could have I was like, this is too much. Like, I don't want to read lengthy Xavier psychic walks twice. It was baller how he got himself out of the hospital, little fake.
That was
fake
great.
Death. Yeah. Yeah. And so like, but, I was still more interested in Krakoa than I was in what's coming next, though. Like, I haven't seen anything yet from the Ashes, and then this issue didn't do anything. My biggest thing is, why does Cyclops look younger now? Like, that's my biggest question. What's up with his suit, and why does he look like he's losing age? But we'll see how the books go, because I like the creative teams. So we'll see how the books go. And I'm kind of interested in NYX and Exceptional X-Men. Katie Pride's kind of rolling this.
Winning you over.
I mean, those were interesting parts in this because, like you said, we're doing this basically thing where now mutants are shifting kind of. I feel like we're kind of shifting out of racial allegory and more into, this was like the final breadth of what if a minority group got actual political, economic power to determine their own fate? What would they do? Was kind of thing. And this is more like shifting into like more like, I feel like LGBTQ metaphor where like, hey, everybody's out and society has now knows like everybody's out, but that doesn't mean society is still safe or accepts and people are still getting hunted in the fringes, and there's still groups around that, and it's part of the culture, but it's still getting all this resistance. And then there's still splits within that culture of, oh, there's mutants, but there's mutants who look like this, and there's mutants who look like that, as trans and things like that, which, could be also great effective metaphor. X-Men's apply to any and everybody from like oppressed or underprivileged classes or groups. So I feel like, and I feel like that's kind of the shift we're going to make. And I think that could be very interesting, but I want to see kind of where the creative team takes that and if we can really connect it to things today. So it'll be interesting to see, and we'll be on it.
Yeah. Clumsy fall. This was a clumsy fall. And,
that'd have been a great title for like a little
the clumsy fall
piece.
of X.
Clumsy fall. Yeah. So, all right. Anybody got any other thoughts? We're closing the book on Krakoa, the thing that started this podcast. Our excitement. It's been a weird ending for sure. From the excited and hyped place that we started. But you know what? That's comics, guys. And I don't fear that, because you get the good, you get the weird, you get the bad, and you just gotta take it all in and hope for the best and try to get rid of the bad memories. No diddy. So thank you to Krakoa for giving us a lot to talk about, for giving our podcast a lot to talk about. And did we ever talk to Jonathan Hickman in 6 years? No. Man, wow.
Maybe for Ultimate Spidey.
Yeah, we got to get on that. We should try to talk to him. Although he probably doesn't want to talk to us after hearing us say all kinds of wild stuff. Our Hoxpox theories. Go back and listen to season 1 and all our Hoxpox theories, because we went down a rabbit hole, baby.
Yeah, we had a lot.
It was crazy.
Some of them worked out. Some of them
did. And some of the stuff we said wasn't even as crazy as some of the stuff that actually happened. So yeah. But all right. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation, I believe. We have nothing else because sometimes I miss stuff. But no, that's it. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We are an entire nation of podcasts, and this week alone, we put out Anime Initiative, our anime-focused podcast, which is looking at, I believe, summer anime. Matt did the pull list. We did the pull list, Janelle, Matt, and I, this week, where we were, oh my God, guys, we talked about The Last Mermaid, Scarlet #1, the Energon universe continues. Batman also ended a current kind of era of storytelling in a weird way. So you can hear our thoughts about that on the DC side. Quick Save Gaming is having a preview of this weekend's gaming event. What's the official title of it, Matt?
Summer Game Fest. And also the Xbox presentation and Ubisoft Forward and all. Man, there's like 9.
Yeah, there's a big gaming fest happening, and our Quick Save team is going to be on it. Matthew Aguilar and the boys and Logan Moore. I think we're doing a kind of recap episode for that. That's coming up. Is that correct?
Coming up this weekend, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the second bonus ep we have this week. We also did Star Wars Acolyte Aftermath, so you can go hear our full kind of spoilers-filled discussion about the Acolytes episode 1 and 2. Be on the lookout for Matt's Quick Save bonus episode with this summer gaming event. And just subscribe to the feed, subscribe to the YouTube page. We got stuff everywhere. We really could use more people subscribing to the YouTube page. So help us out with that. If you're listening to this, you don't have to check it. You could just throw a sub on there. It all works for us. But we would love you to watch this stuff, because we are pumping out content. And after many, many ridiculous back and forths in comicbook.com, we have gotten all our content back on that channel. So you can find everything we're doing over there. All right. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. Everybody have a great weekend. Go read some great stuff. Go watch some great stuff. Go game. do whatever you love in this geekdom, and join us next week so we can do it again. Peace.
This is